Last Sunday at Double or Nothing, CM Punk beat Hangman Adam Page to win the AEW World Heavyweight title. His first championship in almost a decade. And then on Dynamite Wednesday night, he asked for someone from New Japan to step up and face him in Chicago. And the ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi, came out to answer the challenge for the Forbidden Door pay-per-view. The very term originally coined by Tanahashi himself 2 years ago when he wrestled Chris Jericho at Wrestle Kingdom. And he said that if he beat Jericho, he would break the Forbidden Door. He would break down the door and come to America to challenge Jericho again, but this time for Jericho's AEW World title. Of course, Tanahashi did not win. But the stage was set after Wednesday for Punk to ride into his hometown as champion. This was going to be the summer of Punk. That's all anybody was talking about after Wednesday. Here we go again. We had one in Ring of Honor. We had one in WWE. And now AEW would have its own Summer of Punk. Well, the Summer of Punk is canceled. Instead, it's looking like the Fall of Punk. Actually, it was the Fall of Punk this week. That's why we're in this mess to begin with. I knew we were getting bad news on Friday when Punk tweeted out, about 2 hours before Rampage went live, that he would be on the show. He was not originally advertised for the show. All of a sudden, he went on social media. He said he was going to have an important announcement about the AEW World title and his future and his career. And I thought, uh-oh, that sounds ominous. And when he limped to the ring, he had tears in his eyes. It was pretty obvious. I mean, he's not that good of an actor. It was pretty obvious that this was not some sort of angle or swerve. He said he got to the building and every bone in his body told him to turn around and go home to his family, even the broken ones. He said he had good news and bad news. The bad news is he's injured and he needs surgery. A couple of things are broken, he said, the biggest being his heart. Because he wanted to go on one hell of a run as the AEW World Champion. The good news is that he said he could still do that. He said the wheels haven't fallen completely off yet. It's just that one of them happens to be broken. And he said that he told Tony Khan he doesn't want to hold this place up. There's the laundry list of men who could be champion, and he named Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley as two examples. Two ex-WWE guys. MJF was right. But he said the get back is going to be bigger than the setback. He's going to come back bigger, faster, stronger, and hungrier than ever before, and he'll prove why he is the best in the world. He didn't say how or when the injury happened. He didn't need to. Go back and watch his entrance at the start of Dynamite on Wednesday. He was smiling. He had the title around his waist. He was so happy. He was moving around just fine until he dove into the crowd. He did another stage dive, just like the one he did at the first dance when he debuted last summer. Only this time, it looked like his leg struck the top part of the guardrail on the landing. And when he came back up and he was walking down to the ring with FTR for their trios match, he looked down at his leg like something was wrong and he was noticeably limping. That would explain some of the sloppiness we saw in the match where he slipped on the springboard clothesline into the ring and he threw a drop kick at one of Billy Gunn's boys that missed by a mile. He didn't look right. He didn't look right at all. He botched a couple of buckshot lariat attempts at the pay-per-view also, but that's a hard move to pull off. I don't even know why he was trying that in the first place. It's not his move. But when this was over, on Wednesday, when the trios match was over, he mouthed something to Dax Harwood like he knew he was hurt. He knew something was wrong. And when he came back out after the MJF segment, which I'm going to get into, this part didn't air on TV, but he limped down to the ring before MJF ultimately bailed into the crowd and left the building. He wasn't even wearing a boot or a shoe or a sock on the injured foot. So after this great comeback story that they have told with Punk, after 7 years away, he makes this triumphant return and gets that amazing reaction at the United Center in Chicago last August. One of the loudest ovations I've ever heard anybody get. Right? It's up there and it's in that top 5, top 3 category. Wrestled Darby Allin. He had that great feud with MJF. I mean, they didn't waste any time. They went right into it. Him and MJF, that was great. And now here we are all these months later and he wins the big one, right? He finally wins it. They've got this match set up in his hometown later this month against Tanahashi. And it's on a stupid dive into the crowd that he breaks his foot. Now, whatever your thoughts are on Punk, you don't have to be a Punk fan. I mean, look, I think that was incredibly stupid. You know, of course, hindsight looking back, why the fuck would you do that? That was very stupid of him. But I don't like to see anybody get hurt. I'm not going to mock the guy. I'm not going to celebrate the fact that he got hurt, even though there's a bunch of dumbasses on social media that were doing it. But mass confusion followed this segment on Friday night. Chris Jericho was on commentary on Rampage, and more than once he said that Punk had just relinquished the AEW World title. In fact, he has not relinquished the AEW World title. He is not being stripped of the championship. He will remain the AEW champion while he recovers. And instead, AEW is going to crown an interim world champion. Now, I understand they only found out late afternoon on Friday that Punk would need surgery and they were scrambling, but the way they handled this was a complete fucking mess. Everybody was confused by the time that show was over. There was just, when that show was over, everybody was asking, wait a minute, what is he the champion? Is he not the champion? What are they doing? Tanahashi wasn't mentioned? Is he still part of this? Nobody knew anything. It would have been very simple to tell people to follow AEW social media for an announcement in the coming days or the next day about how and when a new champion would be crowned. And then hash out the details instead of just confusing the shit out of everybody. Excalibur announced that per Tony Khan, a battle royal will open Dynamite this Wednesday with the winner meeting number 1 ranked Jon Moxley at the end of the show. And the winner of that match will go on to Forbidden Door to challenge for the Interim AEW World title. That only added to the confusion because the rankings had not yet been updated on their website and Moxley was ranked at number 4. Which is why I said if they would have just waited an extra 24 hours, they could have sorted through all of this and told people, stay tuned to our social media for a special announcement on Saturday about how we're going to handle things. By then, they had posted new rankings that had Moxley in the top spot. It's not usually a day that they post the new rankings, so it kind of just looks like they changed them to fit whatever story they wanted to tell. Tony Khan went on Twitter. He tried to explain why Moxley was getting a match with the Battle Royal winner by saying that Moxley is the only AEW wrestler with 7 singles matches this year, all undefeated, on TV. He said Anthony Ogogo is the only other undefeated man on the roster this year to go 7-0. How the fuck did that happen? Yeah, wrestling on Dark every week. Yeah, let's put Anthony Ogogo in there against Tanahashi. Let's do that. But he said Ogogo is the only other one that has a comparable record, but Moxley ranked higher based on the quality of opponents. Because they do factor that in. That's what they claim. It's the quality of your wins. It's the quality of your competition that counts. So technically, Anthony Ogogo could have racked up 25 straight wins on Dark. Beating people like fucking J.D. Drake and Ryan Nemeth week after week. He can go 25-0, and Moxley would still get the match because he is wrestling people of a higher caliber. So yesterday they put out a press release attempting to explain everything. This is what they've come up with. This should have been a very simple announcement. Either have a battle royal with the winner becoming the interim champion, or take the number 1 ranked star and put them in a match with the number 2 ranked star. The winner is either the interim champion or the winner goes on to Forbidden Door to wrestle Tanahashi. Since Tanahashi already called his shot on Wednesday when Punk came out, to ask for somebody to step up, so you could do that. Instead, they're doing a World Title Eliminator Series, starting with this Battle Royal. I understand them doing a battle royal and not a tournament. We just came off 2 tournaments. Literally, we just crowned winners in 2 Owen Hart single elimination tournaments. So I understand not wanting to go back to a tournament so soon. So they're going to do a battle royal. The winner meets Moxley at the end of the show, and the winner goes to the pay-per-view on June 26th. Then on June 12th, which is next weekend, next Sunday, at the New Japan Dominion show in Osaka, Tanahashi is going to wrestle Hiroki Goto. And the winner of that match will go on to Forbidden Door to wrestle the winner of the match between Moxley and the Battle Royal winner. Then, when Punk is ready to come back, he and the interim champion will meet to determine the undisputed AEW World Champion. I don't like the interim stuff. I know why they do it. They do it in UFC. Tony is a big UFC guy. And look, there are certain situations where it might make sense and it could set up a really big match when the champion comes back. If you've got, big enough names, champion against champion, there could be some appeal there depending on who the champions are. They already did this once this year with Cody Rhodes and Sammy Guevara for the TNT title. Cody missed a week. Maybe 2 weeks at the most is what he missed. It was completely unnecessary. But they did it because they wanted to set up that ladder match for TV. Punk is going to miss more than 2 weeks, but I don't think he's going to be gone very long. Depending on how bad of a break it is, right? Because we don't know yet. He may not be gone that long. I would just strip him of the title, and then the story when he gets back is in the chase to get his belt back. I was never beat. I never lost. Instead, they're doing the interim thing. I'm not going to beat them up over the Battle Royal, like I said. I understand them not wanting to do a tournament, but I also understand doing it this way with the Battle Royal and the match with Moxley. Look, they just lost their world champion. It sucks. The timing on that could not be any worse. They just lost their biggest draw in CM Punk. And they're trying to put together some matches to promote for television to get people hooked into watching. They're trying to drive interest in Dynamite. You announce a big match to open the show. Hopefully you get people tuned in at the beginning. And then at the end, you throw that Moxley match in there to get them to either come back for the end or hopefully stick around for the full 2 hours. Having Tanahashi wrestle Goto at Dominion first, I'm fine with that. Even though there's no chance Goto wins, it gives New Japan an extra match on their show that carries some importance now. Maybe New Japan requested it. Maybe they said, hey, maybe we can have a match on our show. And what's Tony Khan going to say? No. He wants to make nice with Geto and New Japan and say, yeah, why don't we do this? That way we have our own matches that we can feature. You have a match that you can feature. And it all ties together. Right? Because when you have a partnership like this, sometimes both sides want something. So I don't know what the politics of this may have been behind the scenes on that. I don't mind them doing Tanahashi against Goto. Predictable as it may be, I don't mind it. And the most likely opponent for Tanahashi is Jon Moxley. Moxley has been calling out Tanahashi for months. Months. It's the match that makes the most sense. If we are ranking these on a scale of most likely to least likely, Moxley against Tanahashi is the most likely outcome here, with Moxley winning the championship. If I knew that Tanahashi was going to be sticking around for a while, I'd put it on Tanahashi. And that way we still get Punk against Tana when Punk gets back, but they've got the G1 starting next month. And if Tanahashi wins the title and takes it back to Japan with him, then what the fuck is the point of even having an interim champion? Why are you going to put the title on Hiroshi Tanahashi and then he goes back to Japan and you don't have your champion around for your television shows? That defeats the whole purpose of crowning an interim champion. So again, unless Tanahashi is foregoing the G1 this year and he's going to stick around for a couple of months, whoever wrestles him, we know Tanahashi isn't winning. So then you look at the Battle Royal. We don't know who's in the Battle Royal. They have not announced any names for the Battle Royal as of the moment I am recording this. That could change, by Monday morning. But right now we don't know who is in the Battle Royal. But I put together a short list here. Bryan Danielson. Bryan Danielson winning and then beating Jon Moxley, his fellow Blackpool Combat Club comrade, and then wrestling Tanahashi would be excellent. And then we have Danielson against CM Punk when Punk is ready to come back. Every time somebody asks CM Punk, he did it again at the media scrum last Sunday. Every time somebody asks Punk, who do you want to get into the ring with? Looking forward now, you're the champion. Who do you look forward? Who are you excited the most to step into the ring with? Every single time he gets asked this question, Bryan Danielson is always the first name that he mentions. He is dying to get back into the ring with him. It's been 10 years since we last saw them in the ring together. So you can't go wrong with Bryan Danielson. What about Wardlow? Wardlow's coming off the biggest win of his career, Double or Nothing. The poor bastard, he's been completely overshadowed by everything else that happened this week. I mean, we're going to talk about MJF here in a second, but my God, there's Wardlow on television on Wednesday wrestling fucking, I think it was JD Drake, and then starting a feud with Smart Mark Sterling. Boy, I don't know about this. I don't know about where they're headed with Wardlow, but boy, it seems like he's already sliding down the mountain here. Wardlow winning the Battle Royal would make sense, gives him a big win. And even if he goes on and loses to Moxley, which he would, it's not that big of a deal because you could say, well, he was in a Battle Royal, right? Maybe there's some kind of interference. Smart Mark, again, maybe he gets involved, but you could have Wardlow win the Battle Royal and then go on to lose in the main event at the end of the night. Could very well do that. Adam Cole. Adam Cole could win the Battle Royal. Adam Cole could wrestle Jon Moxley at the end of the night. I think it's very unlikely that Cole would beat Moxley and he would get the Tanahashi match. But it's at least possible. Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston's a big fan favorite. I already see people, put the interim title on Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston and CM Punk have history together. They've already feuded on TV once. Eddie Kingston becoming the interim champion. What a great feel-good story that would be. And then you got the match or the rematch with him and Punk when Punk comes back, and obviously Punk would win and he'd be the undisputed champion. To me, again, it doesn't work. I don't think it works right now. Kingston's focus is Chris Jericho and his group. We're going into Blood and Guts, which has been made official for Dynamite on June 29th. That's 3 days after the Forbidden Door show. I cannot see them removing Eddie Kingston from that match. I cannot see them putting the championship on Eddie Kingston and him just continuing on with this Jericho feud. Time-wise, I don't think it really makes a whole lot of sense. What about Miro? Miro just returned on television on Wednesday after 6 months away. Maybe Miro wins the Battle Royal, and then he falls to Moxley at the end of the show. Hangman Page is already wrestling David Finlay from New Japan on Dynamite on Wednesday, so I assume Hangman isn't even going to be in the Battle Royal, although he would have a claim because he was the most recent champion. But it doesn't look like he's going to be a part of this. So all of these are viable options, some more than others, but there's another option. And it's the one that if Tony Khan really wants to get people talking and really wants to capitalize on all of the buzz from this week, instead of the summer of Punk, he will give us the summer of MJF.